Dear listeners, brace yourselves for a thrilling tale where a lavish wedding turns into a chilling crime scene. Lâm Linh, a brilliant doctor with a knack for cleaning, plans to deal with her ex-lover Minh Tuấn and rival Ngọc Hân after deep betrayals. But when Minh Tuấn collapses dead at the wedding, blood streaming from his mouth, suspicion falls on Lâm Linh. Is she the killer, or did someone else strike? A massive insurance policy, the poison 61007, and hidden psychological games unravel. Love, revenge, and truth intertwine, leading to shocking twists. Don't miss this gripping story where nothing is as it seems. I've heard rumors that there's a job called a professional organizer, easy work that brings in millions each month. As for me, ever since I was a kid, I've had a knack for tidying up. I'm not shy to admit, I'm a genius at it. With just a glance, I can transform a chaotic room into a spotless, organized masterpiece. Back in college, I was close with my roommate, not because I was particularly charming or a smooth talker, but because of my cleaning skills. Our cramped, stuffy dorm room, I made it look like a work of art. I've cleaned up everything from rats scurrying out of sewers to giant centipedes crawling from wall cracks. But cleaning up a person, that's something I'd never tried. I decided to give it a shot. Cleaning up a person is worlds apart from dealing with pests or rodents. This is a human society where human rights reign supreme. Taking someone out while staying clear of the law? That's a tricky puzzle. After mulling over a dozen plans, I settled on the simplest, cleanest approach: direct, no fuss. After my shift, I slipped off my white doctor's coat and sneaked into the bathroom to touch up my makeup. A young nurse, fresh-faced and beaming, teased, "Dr. Lin, looking this good? Got a hot date, sis?" "Oh no," I said, smoothing my glossy red lipstick, flashing a smile. "I'm off to a wedding." The nurse's eyes sparkled with curiosity, like she was hearing village gossip. "Whose wedding is it? So grand. Are you a bridesmaid?"
My ex.
I tucked my lipstick into my bag, winked at her, and strode out, leaving her jaw on the floor. At a hot spring resort in Dalat on a lush green lawn, a vibrant arch of hydrangeas stood proud, a red carpet stretching out like a path to happiness. The air buzzed with celebration. I glanced at the sign at the entrance. Congratulations to Minh Tuấn and Ngọc Hân on their blissful union. Ngọc Hân. I clenched my fist, muttering to myself, "It's fine. I'll deal with that jerk Minh Tuấn first, then settle the score with you later." I considered taking them both out in one go, cut the weed at its root. But thinking of the mess I'd have to clean up afterward, I held back. I'm good at cleaning, so what's a little trouble? At the banquet table, red wine shimmered next to vases of hydrangeas. I knew those were for the bride and groom's toast. I edged closer, but amidst the sweet floral scent, I caught a whiff of something familiar, sharp, like hospital disinfectant. I circled the table, then slipped back to a shadowy corner, choosing a seat where I could blend in like a ghost. The wedding began, everything flowing like a rehearsed script. Watching the couple kiss on stage, I cursed under my breath, "Filthy pair." Next came the toast. Minh Tuấn, dashing in his suit, held a glass of red wine. Ngọc Hân nestled against him like a delicate bird, their hands intertwined. The guests cooed. What a perfect match, destined by fate. I waited patiently for Minh Tuấn to lead Ngọc Hân toward me. Suddenly, a scream pierced the crowd. More cries followed, the guests scattering like startled chickens, yet lingering, drawn to the chaos. What happened? I grabbed a waiter, pressing him. The groom's dead," the waiter stammered, trembling. I pushed through the crowd. Minh Tuấn lay sprawled on the grass, blood streaming from his mouth and nose. Ngọc Hân stood frozen, too terrified to approach. Someone finally had the sense to call 115 for emergency services. As a doctor, saving lives is my instinct. I started to step forward to check on him, but reason pulled me back like a cat stalking prey, keeping a safe distance. The ambulance didn't arrive in time. Minh Tuấn was already gone. With a case like this, even if the family didn't report it, the resort would call 113. A murder, a criminal case. Police arrived in a flash. It was a classic poisoning. The groom was dead, and the city's criminal investigation team had to act fast, or public outrage would boil over like a hot pot. The scene was sealed and no one involved could leave. The love triangle between me, Min Tuan, and Ingo Khan was uncovered by the police in less than half an hour. And I was at the scene. Captain Trongia, head of the criminal investigation team, approached me. Dr. Lin, for the investigation, we'd like to ask you a few questions, he said politely, his voice laced with tension. Captain Gia, here are at the station. I leaned back in a plush chair, smiling brightly.
Huh?
Trong Gaya seemed taken aback by my demeanor. Dr. Lin, aren't you scared? Scared of what? I haven't done anything against my conscience to fear ghosts knocking at midnight, I said with a radiant smile. What's there to fear? You're not scared. Trong Ga paused, then chuckled. Of course you're a doctor. Exactly. As a doctor, I'm used to life and death. If you're not convinced, let's see who's tougher. I laughed nonchalantly, as if telling a joke. Trong Gaya smiled and said, Dr. Lin, we found out that a year ago, you sued Ingo Khan for pushing you down a hill, causing a miscarriage. The only witness was your ex, Min Tuan. But in court, he testified that you fell on your own, that it had nothing to do with Ingo Khan, he added with a smile. Hearing him bring up the past, I couldn't help but clench my fists, as if I could crush the teacup in my hand. I'd known Min Tuan since we were kids' childhood sweethearts from the same alley. In college, we fell in love, and after graduation, we moved in together. A year ago, I got pregnant. I was overjoyed and discussed having the baby with Min Tuan. He was thrilled too, saying we'd register our marriage first and hold the wedding after the baby was born. Both our families were ecstatic, and our parents even planned to chip in for a wedding house in Kaojai district. Min Tuan was exceptional vice president of the student union in college, fair-skinned, and handsome like a movie star. I became a doctor after graduation, while he pursued a master's degree. A man like that, a blue-chip stock, naturally attracted attention. How could he avoid women chasing him? Ingo Khan was his superfan, always trailing him like a shadow. She was sweet, flattering, and fully aware that Min Tuan and I were together. I knew she had a crush on him, and so did he. He rejected her a few times, but she clung to him like a leech. I didn't mind, trusting that Min Tuan's heart was mine. Besides, we'd already picked a date to register, and we had a child on the way. But a tragedy pushed me into an abyss. Min Tuan's school organized a camping trip, and he invited me along to a silver waterfall near Ba Vai for barbecue. I never expected Ingo Khan to push me down a hill when I wasn't paying attention. It was just a small slope, not fatal, but my baby was gone. Furious, I sued Ingo Khan. There were no cameras in the area, and Min Tuan was the only witness. I never dreamed he'd testify in court that I was lying, that Ingo Khan didn't push me, and that I fell on my own. Later, I learned that those two had been secretly involved for a long time. Tranga held a cigarette but didn't light it, gesturing to me. From years of criminal investigation experience in that case last year, you were likely the victim. Yeah, I nodded slightly, staring into the distance. So, we have reason to suspect you, don't we? I had a motive to kill. I nodded, smiling. No hiding it, I was planning to act. Oh! Trongia looked stunned. Dr. Lin, you're so candid. It's like I'm not even investigating anything. Someone else stole my chance. I gestured, grinning. Captain, how about you help me find out who this hero was, taking justice into their own hands? Tronga burst out laughing, while the young officer taking notes looked bewildered, like a confused puppy. Dr. Lin, please be serious, the young officer said, unable to hold back. I'm cooperating fully, I said. I even prepared poison, but I'm not some old-fashioned auntie using arsenic. Honestly, poisoning someone and making it this bloody is such a waste. I laughed, gesturing. Captain Gia, don't you agree? If you're okay with blood, just slit their throat one clean cut, blood spraying everywhere, pure street art. The young officer, clearly fresh out of school and lacking experience, stammered. Making such a bloody mess is a pain to clean up, I said, glancing at the lawn outside. What a shame, such lush green grass ruined by that jerk's blood. Trongaya asked, Wangkat? Are you sure? This isn't an operating table people fight back, dodge. An ambush. A bright sword is easy to dodge. A hidden arrow is hard to avoid, I said. What? Am I supposed to announce? Hey, I'm gonna kill you first. People might guard against wild animals, but against another person, who's ever ready? Trongaya nodded, didn't ask more, and let me go. As I left the temporary interrogation room, I overheard the young officer ask, Captain, you're just letting her go like that. It's not her, Trongaya replied curtly.
Exactly.
Though I had the motive and plan to act, someone else beat me to it. These days, not only do people steal your lover, they even steal your chance to clean house. What a failure. I thought with Tronga's skills, he wouldn't come looking for me again. But the next day, right after my shift, he showed up in civilian clothes, riding an old wave motorbike with 2 young officers, blocking my way. Sorry, we need Dr. Lin's help with the investigation, Trunga said, cutting to the chase. It's a citizen's duty to cooperate with the police, I said, hopping onto his bike. We rode straight to the station. Trunga met me in a guest room, thankfully not an interrogation room. Captain Gia, just say it, I said, noticing his hesitant expression. Trungaya pulled something from a file and handed it to me.